Welcome to the Blue Dot, Northern Kentucky's premier political podcast, brought to you by the Kenton County Democratic Executive Committee. Welcome back to the Blue Dot podcast, where we dive into the kitchen table topics shaping our communities and the people stepping up to lead. Thanks for joining. I'm Natalie MacDonald.
And I'm Brian Koehl. Today, we're exploring the upcoming race for the Kentucky House of Representatives, District 64, where we are joined by candidate William Whalen to talk about policy, priorities, and the challenges facing the district so voters can make informed decisions. Thanks for joining us, William.
Thank you.
So thanks for joining. Just to say a few things about you. You are a member of the IBEW 212, which is the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 212. You're also a fourth-generation union member. You grew up in Grant County on a horse farm and lived a few places around the state of Kentucky. But let's hear it from you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background so everybody can get to know you a little better.
Like you said, I grew up on a horse farm. My parents bought that before I was born, and my dad built the house on that property, 35 acres. He always wanted horses, so that was his big goal. And then he got me into 4-H, and I rode 4-H from 9 to 18. And then I was a counselor 1 year afterwards, trying to volunteer and give back a little bit to that. I went to public school for 8 years, and my parents decided that public education in Grant County wasn't the best at the time. And they decided to take me to Catholic high school, and I went on to Catholic college. After college, one of my buddies moved down to Louisville, or lived down in Louisville actually, and he was looking for roommates, and I decided to live down there for a year. And then that didn't work out long term, so I moved back to Covington. Well, I moved back to my parents for a little while, decided to find a house in Covington. Lived there for about 12 years. Loved the city life in Louisville and Covington. And then I met my wife, and she is more of a suburb lady. And so we moved to Independence. So I've got a great understanding of like all the different, areas Kentucky has to offer. I'm a farm boy. I lived in the city. I like the city. Suburbs is okay. I like it. It's great. I just rather be either in the middle of something or way far away.
But really, it's where your wife tells you to be, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she likes it here. I like it. I love Independence. It just takes a little. You still got to drive a little bit to get to the grocery store. Instead, so the country wasn't much worse to me, in my opinion, on the drive to get to the stores. But like you said, I was actually a UFCW member. I worked at Kroger for 14 years. And now I've been an IBEW member for about 8. So I've got there's a little overlap. So it's 21, 22-ish years almost of union membership. Both my great grandfathers worked for the railroad. My grandfather was he was an electrician. He actually started off doing the tube bending. So whenever you go to the bars and you see those like fancy old, beer signs or whatever, he actually created those first and then became an electrician.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
And so then my dad was an electrician, and he was definitely a steward. I myself was a steward for the UFCW. I'm not one currently for the IBW officially and in capacity. My mom also actually worked for a union too. She was a member of the Cincinnati Bell Communications Workers Union. On top of that. So that's a little bit about me. I'm a working class family all my life. My grandmother owned a bar in Covington. So I even understand a little bit of small business too, like what that took. Like she passed when I was young, but my mom always had that sense of like how to run a business, and she helped out a little bit in her life. So I have a great understanding of a little bit of everything that Kentuckians have. So.
Yeah, that breadth of experience, all the different areas and types of living situations within Kentucky that you've had, and then your very strong labor union background and tradition in your family. I mean, you bring a lot to Kentuckians with your candidacy. Let's jump into some of the issues that will be a priority for you. Every district has its own unique challenges. From your perspective, what are the top issues facing District 64 right now, and how do you plan on addressing that?
Well, 64 is an interesting one. Big working situations for everybody. Management up and down is very very much a struggle. We got to get better wages, better working conditions. My dad's always said that management needs a union more than a lot of people, because if you get rid of all the workers, who are you going to manage? And my dad laughed at the guy. He goes, they can't get rid of me on management, and well, you get rid of 1,000 guys, you don't need 100 managers. So
It's true.
Yeah.
but right now, my issues are obviously labor. My areas, we're building a lot in the 64th district. They just built a new grocery store across from Kroger, and I've talked to one of the gentlemen running for the county commissioner, and they're rezoning areas and not
Mm,
necessarily doing it the best way and the right way. And that's a big deal. But the people that are building these places, we need them to be built well trained with the right amount of money, um, and the right to join a union if they want.
hmm
They're talking about repealing right to work. I don't know if that's going to happen this term. If not, I will definitely be pushing for it next one. They changed the name of it. It was prevailing wage. I'd like to get that back, and make it that if it's a that we get well trained people doing these jobs. Education is a big one. It doesn't look like pre-K is going to make it, and that's a ridiculous if it doesn't. Every kid needs a good education. The teachers getting 50,000, the bump raise for that to start off. We're losing teachers right now, left and right. I've got friends that are teachers. I got a buddy who was a teacher and he doesn't want to go back to teaching for several reasons. I have another friend that's kind of sick of teaching, and that's sad. But we need to encourage people to become teachers. We need to get more people we need to retain the teachers, and the money, I don't think it's just all of it. I think it's also the conditions. People always look at the money and the benefits, but it's the conditions. I didn't realize that teachers had to buy their own supplies and their decorations for their rooms, and that's bad enough that they have to do that or get people to help them buy them. So
Yeah. Or among other things, gosh. I mean, my mom was a school bus driver for Fayette County, actually. And it's sidebar, but she would hand make gloves and scarves for the kids because the kids didn't have those items. And I know that the teachers are out there doing the same things. And like you said, just buying the supplies for your classroom. They're paying for that out of pocket, all while not having a very strong or fair wage on top of it. So it's a shame.
on top of that, we need better infrastructure. I don't know. I know we've all driven on 75, 275, 471. The traffic on there is atrocious. Cincinnati's doing something right, or Ohio, their highways, their traffic used to be awful, and now I go up to work in Ohio and the roads are a lot better than they are down here. Like, it doesn't like yeah, there might be a little slow spot, but and the worst part is when you're coming from Ohio to Kentucky, it slows up even faster. It used to be worse the other way, and now they seem to fix it. I'm gonna look into something about matching funds on the roads. We need to do something to get matching funds for our roads and build up our infrastructure.
Yeah, and like you said, the Kentucky legislature is in session right now, and we're starting to hear some of the priorities that the supermajority are not going to follow through on, or what they are focusing on. So, as you said, the repeal of right to work, which of course we'd like to see that happen. I don't know if the legislature will let that happen. Also, you touched on the pre-K for all, which I sure do hope that comes through. But there are some other things also, specific to 64. I know one of the things that's being talked about a lot is access to healthcare in the district, and especially that competition and choice. And I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, or how you would go about killing that.
Yeah, I do. Like in our area, there is no other healthcare provider other than the one we've got, and I don't even want to mention it because I don't think that the word saint should be used in it because
Ugh.
it's not a very good system. I know I've had several family members, and I've talked to several other people that have talked about the healthcare there, and basically at least three people I know have gone in there and had problems. They said, "Well, we can't do anything." Sorry, I got the dog here. He's
Everybody,
keeping quiet.
I swear to God, everybody we have interviews with has a cat or a dog who joins them, and I love it. And look at your dog, how cute.
Well, he just saw someone walking through the window, so that's why he popped up. But yes, I know every time they're basically saying someone goes and tries to build a medical facility in this area, they block it. We need to bust up this monopoly. It's a monopoly. They can call it whatever they want to call it. UC has a thing in Boone County, and then like they've got little tiny things down on Thomas More Parkway. UC does, and so does Children's. But all they're doing is making it worse. I've been to Saney as a kid. My horse that I rode was a little crazy, and might have bumped me up a little bit. So I've been there twice. And when St. Luke was around, the competition made it better. I think everybody agrees you got to have some competition. But like I said, I've had several people go there and they go, well, we're just going to release you. And it's like, well, you didn't tell me who to follow up with. You didn't tell me what's wrong with me. You didn't give me, you gave me pain medicine or whatever, and that's it. And that's not healthcare. I drive to UC in Cincinnati to get, some healthcare. Luckily, my union has some clinics, it's not little clinics, but it's a clinic that of our own, and so I use that when I go regularly. So at least we have something. But yeah, like I said, I will look at anything I can do. Something does need to be done.
Yeah, I mean, the healthcare is just one of the many issues that are facing us, and any of those that we try to tackle, that you and the state legislature would try to tackle, is going to require collaboration with the other side to get it done.
Yeah.
And a lot of Kentuckians say they're tired of the division, and we hear that nationally as well. I want to see more problem solving and less partisanship. How do you approach collaboration and consensus building, especially on issues that impact, working families, regardless of party?
I've always said I have no enemy. The only time I have an enemy is when you declare yourself an enemy of mine. So
And then all bets are off, right?
not even that. Like I was always raised to love my enemy, and so I do. I'm willing to work with anybody on anything. I've talked to other people about. I've talked to the gentleman running in the 65th district as a Democrat, as you guys know, and he talks about one Republican that has some really good healthcare bills. Whether or not they get passed is doubtful, but he's actually putting them up, and they probably get lost in committee or whatever else. But I'm willing to work with those if that's what it takes to get those good bills in. I went down actually not too long ago to talk. On some other bills that the IBEW is big on. And I talked to a woman one of the representatives, she introduced a bill that someone suggested to her and sponsored it. And then one of my colleagues said, no, this isn't a very good bill. You need to do this and adjust this. And she's like, oh, yeah, I did adjust that for you, too. I don't think it passed because of the way she changed it, but she just kind of like took this bill and I guess didn't understand it or didn't do enough research. That's one thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to sponsor a bill unless I understand every aspect of it. I'm going to get some serious experts on it. And I think she just got the expert that wanted it to pass.
Yeah. I see. I was just out on your Facebook earlier today, kind of doing a little research, and saw there's 3 specific bills that
Yeah.
you're highlighting. I think those were the ones that maybe you're down talking to some of the legislators about.
Right. Yes.
You want to, and they're all around. I thought they were very interesting because they kind of show, some of your priority and where your passion lies. Would you mind just going over those briefly and just telling us
Sure.
what strikes in you, what the importance of these bills, and why are these the kinds of bills that, you would get behind and, try to push through as a legislator?
So the first one is one of my favorites, House Bill 437. It's outdated. It's updating, I should say, not it's the outdated system of our unemployment. There's a waiting week to get unemployment, and bills don't stop for you to get a paycheck to wait 1 week. The reason that they had it was back in the day, they didn't have the internet to kind of do all the legwork to make sure that you are unemployed, that you're searching for jobs or whatever else it is. So that was part of it, and it was also less funded. So this bill would end that waiting week for people, so that way they can pay for groceries a little faster. But this, like I said, it gets those people a little bit. It's not, and unemployment. You don't get your full paycheck, so it's just a little safety net to help those people get that. The second one, it's very much a safety bill. Apparently, there was a fail on McCracken County Schools. The building collapsed because they didn't have certified welders. Apparently, during COVID, there was a way to like get your welding certificate
Uh,
to through the mail. And so I think they kept that in, and that's the problem is like now people are like doing welding for someone, and like this is Bob doing it for Jim, and we mailed it in or whatever, and that's this guy's certified.
I know
that,
people who've been through the welding program, and that does not, and that was hard work for them.
right.
It doesn't seem like something that you should be able to get through the mail for.
Right.
Yeah, that
So
COVID
certificate,
aside,
that certificate through the mail works great for podcasting, but I don't think something like welding is a
no,
good idea.
exactly.
so that was Senate Bill 98. Sorry, I think I forgot to mention that one. So, like I said, if the building fails while I'm working on it, then it affects me.
Absolutely.
And it's really sad if it would fail and kids are in the building too. And I know, not that it had anything to do with it, but Latonia just had their gym collapse not too long ago, so that was a little bit of an issue. So not that it had anything to do with it. That's just an older building.
But it also speaks to the schools, and why
Right.
aren't we
Yeah.
making our schools safe, their infrastructure of
Yeah.
the schools? So
Right.
anyway,
And then the third one, this is a no brainer in my mind because it helps keep the general fund for Kentucky bigger. Basically, it's to help stop misclassification of workers that they shouldn't be classified as independent contractors and that they're paid what they're supposed to be paid. Also, this does several things. It does that so that way people are paid more, they're getting all their benefits, and if they're making more money, they're taxed at a higher rate or taxed with more money. On top of that, it keeps out a lot of contractors from out of state.
Mm.
Now, Tennessee, Ohio, Indiana. Some guys might come over back and forth, but those people, so that's one thing. But it's keeping out the guys from like Colorado, California, Florida that aren't going to be coming back into Kentucky anytime soon to spend any little bit of money. So, but that's the whole idea is keep Kentucky money in Kentucky as much as we can. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with, a few out of, a little bit of out of state, but like that's the biggest thing is this has got to knock that out. Um, but
Yeah,
those three bills.
those all sound like strong issues. And again, it's, workers' rights and it really affects the working families and, labor in Kentucky. And that's, we need to be fighting for those people for sure.
and when you highlight these bills and we talk about those issues, I feel like, if people knew that those were out there, if they knew about the good bills that are getting stuck and they knew about the bad bills that are being passed, unequivocally, the Democratic platform is better, and the Democratic bills are really what's going to help the people. But I think a lot of people just don't know about these bills, right? And we talk a lot about grassroots organizing, connecting locally with voters. And I'm a firm believer, if you don't know who represents you, then that representative is not doing their job. So how do you think you would be able to connect with the people that you represent to really let them know about these issues, to be able to talk with them? And again, I think just visibility and speaking with them about these issues, and people would then be like, well, of course of course this makes sense, right? Just getting out and talking to them and connecting.
That's excellent. I always go to my union meetings, and granted, that's in Ohio, but I always bring that up there. What's going on with this? So I'm good about talking about those type of things. I love going to the fairs. I'm going to go plan on being there this year. I love going to the fish fries that are coming up soon. There's one. It's early March. The Standard Club is having one for the Labor Council. I'm going to be there at that one. But I plan on giving as much opportunity to let people come and talk to me as possible, having more open forums. They talk about all the time in nationals, like the senators and the House of Representatives coming home and actually having like meetings. And I plan on making sure that people know about these. Like you said, don't I've never heard anything about, my representatives doing this. Granted, maybe they do it and they do it with the Republican Party and they don't tell the Democrats. I don't know, but I don't hear about it, and I don't see anything about what's going on with this other than usually some fundraisers when they're running for office, and that's about it. Nothing about really issues.
That's what we keep hearing. And I see you do have a mascot, so I have to ask you, what's your dog's name? Because I think you could bring your dog out there to connect with all the voters.
That's right.
Oh, he is a charmer, that's for sure. My wife and I are huge Futurama fans, and
Mm.
so we named him Nibbler for the little creature that basically is always little yipping and crazy. So
Oh, very good.
It's very
You got your
cute.
spokesperson right there.
Well, maybe Nibbler can help you defeat your one primary opponent, and then you'll have the Republican incumbent. Besides Nibbler, what else do you feel sets you apart from those two other candidates?
well, actually, there's four. There's a primary and the Republican too. There's
Oh,
two of them
yes,
there,
okay, yeah. I guess
but
there's the assumption of the
right.
Republican incumbent, but that's not may not actually happen. It's a good point.
I will say I've listened to all your podcasts and I did listen to his, and he is a worker, he is a runner, and that is great. But from what I've talked with him, he's worked a lot in the management field. He was a co-manager at Kroger and he's a manager at a GameStop now, and he's in retail, and that's a little bit different than office. I've always been more of a on the worker side, and I think he does understand the working issues. I just think I'm a little bit better on that. I'm a little older, I have a little more experience. Not that his experience isn't good. He is, like I said, very intelligent. I just think that, and I think on top of that, our issue priorities are a little bit different. I think affordability is on the top on both of ours. But after that, I've not really talked past affordability and a few others. So I think he would make a great candidate for a position. I just think I'm a little bit better in that category and for this position in particular.
Hmm. And what
Um,
about your what about on the Republican side there? What do you got going for you?
so I think, to be honest, I think she is really just medical. It's her only real thing. I did a brief view on some of the things she's proposed. Uh, it's always usually medicine based. She wanted to rename a street after a saint. They've got so many bills right now. Why are we worrying about saints' names like those, or street names or renaming them? It's great, you know, if we didn't have a lot going on. And then the other guy, he is a constitutionalist, he says, and very much the Second Amendment in particular. And while I'm in agreement with him that, yes, we have a right to them, we have to earn that right to a point too after a certain point. And it's just not the Wild West. Not everybody can just have one. If you give everybody one and they're all walking the streets, you're all going to be looking behind your back, and it's not a safe environment in that aspect. You might know, yeah, that guy, he's got one and he's safe, but what about the guy three houses down that you don't know?
Yeah, I like the
But
Wild West reference because that's the way it kind of seems like when you want open carry everywhere and 18 and over, and it gets to be like, where do we stop and what are we actually trying to accomplish with that?
right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Pamela Stevens mentioned, like, she's a former Air Force, and she's like, we train these guys, and they don't get to open carry whenever they went.
Uh-huh.
When they're in their bunks, they put their weapons away, and you know they don't get access to them anytime they want. Yeah, they might be able to be like, hey, I'm gonna go sign out and go hit the range.
Uh-huh.
You might be able to get stuff like that, but it's not complete. Like, oh, it's with you 24/7.
Right. Right. Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
sensible. It just
Sensible,
sensible gun ownership, sensible gun laws. We can agree that we have the Second Amendment. I was in a Panera and there was a guy with this sidearm and he was open carry and he had a T-shirt on that says, "I have the right to shoot." And I'm like, I don't know who this guy is. We're in a Panera, and it's just like, come on. If you get your concealed carry, so you're at least not scaring everybody and the kids in the restaurant. I don't know. So, but yeah, I agree with you.
yeah. And I mean, my dad has a friend that has a Thompson submachine gun. In order to get that, he had to go get a special permit to get it. I'm fine with that. Like, he can't just take it out whenever he wants. So you can get any, like, from what I understand, you can almost get any weapon you really want as a gun. You just got to get a special license, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Good stuff. Well, we got to know a little bit about you. We got to know a little bit about your policies, what you'd stand for, what you think is priorities for people in your district. And if you listen to the pods, as you said you did, we do a lightning round.
Yep,
So we got 5 rapid fire questions for you if you are up for that.
absolutely.
Okay. These are pretty easy. Had I known the dog was going to join, I would have thrown one in there for the dog.
Yeah.
Um,
We
but
would have had a nibbler. We would have had one for
what
nibbler.
was that?
I said we would have had one for nibbler had we
Definitely
known.
nibbler. All right. What was the first job you ever had?
First job, surprisingly, kind of interlude into my job that I have now. I worked at Wise Way Electrical Supply, and I was in charge of wiring up the temporary lights so that you could see them on the showroom floor. I cleaned the hot tubs, and I changed the sign with that. They always had like a funny sign out up there, and I was in charge of changing it.
Fun.
Yeah,
So electrician has been in your bones right from the
yeah.
beginning. All right, Nibbler may have a comment on this one.
Mm.
Pineapple on your pizza? Yes or no?
I'm not a fan. I will eat it. Usually the problem is there's always too much pineapple. Like I can eat a couple bites with pineapple on it, but I generally say no. It's not awful. I don't judge people.
Good judge.
If if you're gonna give me that or strict veggies, I'll go with the pineapple pizza.
I'm with you. I'm on my limits.
Well, that's fair. So it's in small doses, right? That's
Yes.
what you eat in small
Yes.
doses. All right, and I think I know who you might say on this one. But who has been a mentor to you or an inspiration to you over the years?
You've met him. It's obviously my father.
I knew you were going to say that.
He's educated me on just everything. Add my mom in there too, because my dad has taught me how to be a good person, and they both taught me that. But my mom has taught me more to laugh. She's always a little bit more the comical side. I take things serious with my dad. My mom's my humor, even though my dad's a little funny too. But it's like it's a little stronger. They're fairly balanced themselves, but they balance each other even more. So but yeah, he's influenced my politics. He's influenced my faith. I'm not a very religious person. I'm more spiritual, but he's taught me just that statement. Like I said, I don't really try to hate. I love everybody, and I know that people don't like to use that word love, but I remember learning the word love in in English. We only have one word for love. In Greek, there's like 7 or 8 different words for love. But yes, I try to love my enemies, and he's taught me that.
I have not met your mother, I don't believe, but I have met your father, and he's a great guy. Alrighty, this was a little lighter. What is your biggest pet peeve?
My biggest pet peeve,
Yes.
I will say, my wife will attest to this. I get very frustrated with drivers that just don't know some of the basic rules of driving. Like you stop at that big white line and not stop in the middle of the cross of the walking area, like that. So I get frustrated with bad drivers, not speeders in particular, but just bad, like, people that don't know that you can't cross in the middle of an intersection, that type of stuff.
Yeah, that's easy. The white line that you said you stopped before the white line. My partner is convinced that in order for the lights to know that you're there and to change, you have to put your tires on the white line. So I don't think that's true. Every time we'll stop and she's like, just scoot up a little bit. I'm like, no, you don't have to be on the white line.
My problem is the people have their back tires on that line.
Yeah, right.
Oh, we all have our
Good point.
rage. All right, and last one on the campaign trail. Do you prefer public speaking or just going door to door and having conversations with people?
I like small conversations. I think I do better with small groups. I was actually a communications major in college, and I'm not a great speaker in large groups. And I'm not afraid to do it. I just got to work on that a little bit. I do great, small groups, 5, 10 people. I think I did really well helping some of my colleagues talk about the bills that we were doing down in Frankfurt.
Yeah. I can
Well, I
say
would
you're very,
say,
yeah.
yeah, I was going to say just from our interview and talking to you, you seem very open and engaging. So I think you have a lot of people that will open up to you and be willing to really express themselves and tell you what's really on their minds, which is good. You need to hear that as a candidate. I think you have like an inviting nature that will enable people to feel comfortable doing that. It's really good. So, William, we thank you for sharing your story and your vision. Thank you for running. Oh my gosh, we're just so happy to have all these candidates. It's people like you are courageous enough and willing to put in the time and the effort to do that. Where can our listeners learn more about your campaign and get involved?
Like you said, my Facebook page, William Whalen 4KY. I'm working on a actual website. I haven't got that yet. I do have an Instagram, Whalen 4KY on my Instagram. But like I said, I'm working on my webpage. That's going to be Whalen 4KY. I plan on being at all of the functions. I'm trying to make it out to all the other candidates' functions and support all the other Democratic candidates out there.
Yeah, that's great.
The big one I think you mentioned last time was the Kenton County kickoff, the 27th, I believe, right?
Yep.
So I'm going to be there for that. So you can come and you can talk anything you want. I'm an open book when it comes to what I think and what I believe. So press me on an issue. I'm not scared. Try to convince you that even if it's not the way you see it, I'll listen to your aspect and see if your way is actually better.
That's good. That's all anybody can ask. That's for sure. Well, thank you again so much, William. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. And that's it for this candidate interview. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss any of our upcoming podcasts or exclusive material. And don't forget, you can join the conversation at our Facebook and Instagram pages or at blue.podcast.com. Until next time, stay curious, keep the facts in focus, never stop fighting for what matters. Peace out, everybody.